One thing I always say is the numbers tell a story, right? And so you need to understand what the story is of your business, because once you understand that story, you understand where you are now, where you want to go, and how to write that next chapter, right? How to bridge the gap from where it is you are now to where you want to go.
Welcome to the On-Site Podcast. We chat with contractors, educators, industry professionals about the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. So without further ado, let's fucking get into it.
What's up? What's up? We are back, episode 23, and today we have Joshua from Base Point CPA. Joshua is one of the educators inside of the Elite Builder Society. We've been working together for just over a year now, I think. And Joshua, sorry.
It's okay. You can tell me either.
I remember originally when I was talking to you, I was like, "So is it Josh or Joshua?" You're like, "No, it's Joshua," and I was like, "Okay." It's Joshua.
I used to play baseball, and so I had like Joshua on my hat, and I was always like really picky about it. People were like, "Hey, Josh," I'd be like, "No, it's Joshua," but I'm good with that.
Yeah, and that's what I got from that message a while ago. But nonetheless, great to have you here, Joshua. I know you've done a lot of presentations inside the Elite Builder Society. You're working with some of the contractors, and so I'm sure we'll be able to dig into some, very specific, beneficial information for everyone that's listening. So, Joshua.
All good, Brandon. You can call me Josh.
So let's dig into it and tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from.
Yeah. So originally from the Lower Mainland, just outside of Vancouver. I now live in Dawson Creek, British Columbia. We moved up here just over 3 years, actually. Got married, got 4 kids. Just one of the drivers that brought us up here. We just wanted a little bit more space to roam around. So we got a nice big piece of paradise up here, which is great. Yeah, I love the outdoors, love exploring what our province has to offer as far as the outdoors. And and I like traveling too. I mean, I zip down to Calgary and Vancouver for business because that's typically where our clients still are. So although I'm in Dawson Creek, I guess a good segue. The cloud-based CPA firm, Base Point CPA. So it's cloud-based, and so like 90% of our clients are outside of like below the Okanagan, kind of in that area, or into Alberta. And we've got some across Canada as well. So I'm trying to go around in those areas as well, be able to touch base and connect with people too. Yeah. So have a cloud-based CPA firm, as I mentioned, Base Point CPA. I grew up in accounting and finance kind of by accident. So quick backstory, my original background was actually in pharmaceutical research and development. So when I went to school, I studied biotechnology. Then my wife and I had a couple of small businesses, and I used a science-based, data-based approach to running business. And I was like, I think this might actually be accounting. And so I sort of stumbled into it, decided to go get my CPA. And while I was doing that, worked for a general contractor just outside of Vancouver. Awesome company. So I kind of grew up in finance there, ended up becoming the director of finance there. I thought I would be there forever because it was such a good company. And then my accountant at the time sort of lured me over to public practice accounting. So I worked with him for a while, awesome CPA just outside of Vancouver. And then we moved. And so then I decided to get my own practice happening here. And that's where I am today.
Awesome, man. You said you had 4 kids.
We got 4 kids, yeah.
That is incredible.
We've got some friends who have more, so I kind of feel like we're hobby parenting a little bit, but...
Okay. And what's the age of your kids?
Yeah, our youngest is 8, and then our oldest just turned 16 in August.
Okay, so a little variance there. Well,
yeah.
I've got a 17-year-old and a 13-year-old, and great ages. You always never know what's going to come out of their mouth. Some days.
Well, it's a good age because we can actually converse with them, and we can do things with them now. Like we go skiing, like we hang out with our kids now, which is awesome.
Yeah, I just actually went. We were in Calgary with my son. He's looking at going to SAIT, or he will be going to SAIT in Calgary, and awesome. It was a really cool weekend. Like not like a normal like father-son weekend. Like when your kids are younger, they're a little bit more like snooty, and they say things that young teenagers would say, but it was just all around just a super cool, chill weekend. And we got to do a lot of great things. Like we got to hang out together. We went and shot some guns. We've never done that stuff together. And he picked this, just a little 9mm. And I'm like, not a big gun guy by any means. I don't shoot guns. I don't have any guns. Maybe I should, considering how the world is, but he shot a little 9mm, and it looked like the littlest gun. So he grabs the littlest gun, and I immediately go for the biggest gun. I was like, I'm going to shoot that thing. And the guy's like, are you sure you want to shoot that? I was like, yeah, I mean, I'll try it out. So he gets this little gun, and I've never been in a, if you've never, yeah, do you have boys?
Yeah, I've got our oldest 3 are boys, and our youngest is a daughter. We do a lot of shooting, so yeah.
You do? Okay. So you're going to protect the house. I'm got some work to do, but so we go in there. He gets this gun, and he shoots the first round, and my heart stopped. I was like, holy shit! Like, this is way more than I thought it was. So I was a little bit like taken back how that little gun,
it's got a bit of kick on a 9mm, yeah.
Yeah, well, it was a very weird, like little small 9mm, and I asked the guy, I was like, that one was just like seemed like a lot bigger, like thump than the rest of the stuff that we were about to shoot. And I'm like nervous. I'm like, what are these other bigger guns? He's like, oh no, like this gun specifically that he picked has like the biggest thump and the biggest noise.
Oh, is it like a Glock or something? Maybe like a really light gun.
Yeah, I don't know. It was yeah. So it was a good experience nonetheless. He's like, that was one of the coolest things we've done, and just a really good. Awesome. Father-son experience together. So, I think it's super cool. Congratulations. You got 4 of those people in your life, and so you get to spend those experiences together, because at the end of the day, I was talking to somebody else about this. This is why we do what we do. We do what we do for our families and for the people in our life that show us that, that appreciation, that love. And sometimes we sacrifice a lot, especially working with contractors. I'm sure you see that time and time again where, people are making those sacrifices for their family every day. And sometimes it's not maybe delivered in a way that they can actually see it, or maybe their kids aren't mature enough, or the family's not mature enough to kind of see it. So I think it's awesome that you have 4 of those people that you get to share that with. For those of you that are listening, the thing that's different about Josh, he's not just a regular accountant. He's not like the guy that, does the accounting for a barbershop or a restaurant or a bakery. He works with contractors. And what drew me to this actually was kind of part of what really made me think a little, like when we started working together originally, however long ago that was. I feel like it's longer than a year, but I
think it was like over a year and a half ago now.
Yeah. So when we started working together, I was like, oh, there's like very specific people in very specific industries, very similar to in construction, where you've got a tiling contractor, you've got a flooring installation guy, you've got a finishing carpenter. Sometimes you maybe have just a guy that does railings. You've got somebody that does custom steel fabrication. See, all inside of construction, there are all of these very specific trades that I was very familiar with. But in the business development side of things, understanding that there are also those types of people in business really completely alter your perspective and the success of a business when you hyper focus on somebody that does one thing. And so when I found out that Joshua focused on working with contractors, and when I found out he was also a registered CPA, which means he's a certified exit strategist, essentially we can dive into that a little bit more for contractors as well. I was like, this is like a perfect recipe. And then when I kind of leaned into that a little bit and started building this, I call it the Avengers of contractors, where we have all of these service-based individuals, similar to Joshua. We've got web developers, we've got ad strategists. All of these people inside of our community are very specific, but Joshua is very specific with accounting. And a lot of people in business typically just go to their friend's uncle, sister's, cousin's, aunt that does XYZ. And I did that too. I was a part of different organizations. I'm not going to throw BNI under the bus, or what is the other one? There's a bunch of different networking groups. They're great. They have their purpose. But some of the individuals that are in those communities and in those groups don't specialize in a service. And so when you hire people like this, whether it's your friends, aunties, uncles, sisters, cousin, and they don't specialize in it, and you're trying to do them a favor, you're actually doing yourself, you're actually screwing yourself over. Because if you would, really focus on those people inside your business, like accounting, and have a specialized person that does one thing, okay? And accounting is critical. I know this specifically. I've lost a lot of money on some projects, and it was because I didn't have the right people in place. And so, Joshua, I want to lean into just, what are some takeaways that you can share with us about, contractors that started with you, that were working with Martha's whatever, and then came to you What are some of the stories or, some experiences that you can share with us about, what are some differentiating things that would make you a better decision for a contractor other than the obvious, versus somebody just picking a random CPA?
That's a good question. And maybe to address what you said a little bit earlier. So, very normal for people to use family members and stuff for help on some of the admin. And I've kind of seen it all. So I've seen my favorite picture I ever received as like, hey, can I get a copy of this invoice that you issued for a client? Because I'm going to have this on file. And I literally got a picture of the person holding his invoice on his steering wheel as he's driving. So I've seen it all.
120 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know if he strategically covered up the speedometer, but so I didn't really get that part. But yeah,
no
it's pretty
hands,
fun.
No hands.
Yeah, I've seen it all. It's very, very normal to see that whole spectrum. When I was running finance in the general contractor space and commercial construction, we worked with a ton of trades. And so I saw what happens when you have really, really good accounting, what happens when you have pretty shoddy accounting. So, it wasn't uncommon. It wasn't like super common, but it did happen where, you'd have one of the subs would call and then I'd get an escalated call. It's like, hey, they're wondering where their payment is at. This is like classic, right? In construction space. So they're wondering where their payment's at. Turns out they just didn't update their accounting system. So it looked like they had an outstanding receivable, but they didn't actually have an outstanding receivable. And so, it's an unnecessary escalation that could have been prevented simply by having up-to-date books. So kind of seeing all those things. To answer your question, one of the things we try to do as much as possible, not all clients really benefit from this because it's a two-way street and that we need information from clients. But as much as possible, we keep clients' books up to date every single week. So when we're running, do we call it bookkeeping? Starting to move into different terminology where we offer what we call client accounting services, where rather than calling it bookkeeping and accounting, which is, when people think bookkeeping, they think, oh, I'm going to bring my box of receipts to my bookkeeper. They're going to fire it in the system, tell me what I owe for tax, whatever it might be. With client accounting services, we keep very, very current books for clients. And we give insights into their books depending on the level of, insight that they want and the frequency of that, so that they have a very regular pulse on how their business is doing. So on a weekly basis, someone on our team actually goes in. And so we work primarily with QuickBooks Online. Okay, a couple other platforms we use, but we're trying to move people into the QBO space. And I would say, actually, just kind of as a side note, the perfect trifecta that we found works really well for contractors. If anyone's like listening to this, wondering what they should do as far as what we call a tech stack, but like as far as what they use for technology in their operations, it's using a platform called Dex, which you can use your phone and take a picture of all your receipts. All your invoices can feed into it, comes right to us. We can take care of it from there. Then that syncs into QuickBooks Online, which is, your accounting system. And then that syncs into JobTread. So JobTread is a fantastic platform, as most of your listeners probably know, that helps with the construction management side of things, the estimating, the proposals, all of that. But then you can also have a pretty good pulse on your job profitability from within JobTread. And so those three platforms together work really, really well. And so when we can operate in our zone of genius, where we're keeping everything regular on a weekly basis, it allows business owners to have a very constant pulse on how their business is doing. Then in addition, yeah, thanks. That's awesome. Dex, great platform. So when we offer client advisory services, that's all kind of rolled up into your monthly price. So you get all that included. Yeah. So then what we'll do is monthly or quarterly, depending on the level of insight frequency you want, we'll provide video updates. So give you a video walkthrough of your financials, tell you what it means. And the goal is that eventually you'll have a really good understanding of what your financials mean. A lot of people don't really take the time to understand what their financials mean. They're like, what's the bottom line? How much cash do I have in my bank? So we try to really help educate our clients so they become more in control of what their financials. And then we also do the same for the accounting and tax side, where we're prepping year-end accounting and corporate tax returns. We'll do video walkthroughs to help clients understand what their numbers mean. One thing I always say is the numbers tell a story, right? And so you need to understand what the story is of your business, because once you understand that story, you understand where you are now, where you want to go, and how to write that next chapter, right? How to bridge the gap from where it is you are now to where you want to go.
Hey, we've got an ad here. Make sure to pay attention. What's up, guys? Are you a contractor or business owner looking to take things to the next level? Well, I've got something for you. The Elite Builder Society is a community that helps contractors grow and scale. For $49 a month, you can have access to 20 group coaching calls. Look, you're probably wondering, how am I going to show up to 20 calls, Brandon? That's a lot. And yeah, it is a lot for $49 a month. But every call is recorded so you can watch it at your leisure. But you get the best experience when you're live on the call with us. Okay, at the end of every webinar, there will be a Q&A where you can ask the industry expert questions that you can implement into your business. Look, if you're ready to take things to the next level for $49 a month, go to ebsworks.com and register today. I look forward to seeing you inside the community.
That is a great tech stack. You know, we've also been working with JobTread. A lot of the contractors that we work with, the majority of them are on JobTread. I know that you just sent over a referral, Fraser. He's from the Lower Mainland, I believe. And literally on our first call, I was like, he explained his process. And I was like, nah, you need to change some stuff like immediately. And
we had the JobTread talk, yeah.
you guys had it? Did you have it? Because he's already he did his discovery meeting with them yesterday, and he's on board already. Awesome. So after our first meeting, that was the first thing he implemented. And awesome. What I've noticed is a lot of the contractors that are coming from you as referrals, they are financially okay. And so that's a good thing. That means that they've got their money organized, and they're just in that transitional period where sales seems to be a bit of a challenge. And I think a lot of people think that organic growth is the only way to grow your business. There's just other things similar to like this tech stack that you talk about. There are things that you can do within your business as well to grow, and so you always bring great referrals. I always talk to them about implementing JobTread. I know that Greg is very close to leaning into that. I think him and his wife are using another product, but they're on the verge of diving into JobTread. And JobTread it's a big machine. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was sorry to interrupt there, Brandon. JobTread is something I discovered. Like, we had a couple of clients using it before you and I were chatting. Yeah. But after coming in the program and I saw a presentation from Eric from JobTread, I was like, this looks so good, because working in for a large general contractor, we used a pretty big beastly ERP system, which is not accessible to the regular person. And then there's some other platforms coming out there that are good. But I was watching this and getting a look under the hood. I was like, man, this is a really good platform, very intuitive, very user friendly, and very not expensive for contractors. Like, it's super accessible. And so seeing how some of our clients were already using it and loved it, I was like, okay, so we actually signed on as an accounting partner with JobTread. So now
you're a marketplace partner with them?
We are a marketplace partner with them. Yeah. Now, so we can hopped in, we kind of did all the training. We now really understand how well it works. So we've actually helped implement some JobTread for clients, and it's a fantastic platform. Sorry, I interrupted there.
No, you're good. I mean, we do always go back to JobTread and a lot of conversations here. And, JobTread is one of the fastest growing construction management softwares on the market. I was using BuilderTrend in my business. It was clunky. It was big. It was just not communicative. And what I really, really like about JobTread is that when you have a problem, somebody answers the phone, and they really focus on your success, supporting you, and helping you get things going. Because what I've learned, even with the people, and I'm sure you're aware of this too, the people that we work with, it takes a little bit more to teach them how to kind of fish in a roundabout way. And once they know how to do it, they're self-sufficient. They do their shit on their own. And so if you can be the one that taught them how to fish, then they'll come back to you with little questions here and there when they need it. But if you expect them to figure it out on their own, which most of these softwares expect you to do, you find yourself being, kind of frustrated, angry, and disappointed in the product. And what I've learned consistently from everyone that works with JobTread is that somebody picks up the phone and there's always a success manager there to help you with whatever problem or whatever challenge you need. And so I think that's a great partnership for you specifically. It makes total sense, and so excited about that in the future. I think the trades are changing. I think that the industry is changing. It's reshaping. Products like this and people like you are really differentiating contractors from contractors. They're Chuck in the truck, I think actually Doug, one of the other educators, he put a post. I don't know if it was made by AI or whatever, but he's from Texas Shine in Texas, obviously. and it was Chuck in the truck. And so Chuck in the truck and the real contractor are getting really differentiated with these tools and resources, and AI is going to be a big part of a lot of this. I think you're going to see a lot of changes because at the end of the day, we're doing all of this for a client, right? It's not just for the business. Like your services aren't just for the contractor, it's for the client at the end of the day. It's for the customer to have a great experience. And so if you can reverse engineer all of these pillars of value along the way and create something that really churns success, then that person and those clients will always have a better experience. So I think, that's a great partnership between the two of you.
Can I just hop in on that a sec, Brandon? I like how you put that as far as like reverse engineering the value for the ultimate client, like the person who's having the project done at the end of the day. Because even if, for example, the contractor, I see this often, right? Like where the contractor is really, really good at what they do, like fantastic skill, they do really good projects. You look at the website, they're like, wow, there's like beautiful projects that they've done. But if they don't know what's going on in the background, if they don't understand, like, say, their project profitability, how they're doing as a whole, and they're starting to wrestle with, say, cash flow, that's going to translate onto the job site. That's going to impact how they how they show up, like, to their trades, right? And then it might even, like, come out how they interact with their clients as well. And so it's really, really important to, consider that the end objective, right? We're trying to really have a good impact on the client at the end of the day. How do you reverse engineer that and make sure all the, like you say, the pillars are lined up to make sure that happens? I like that. That's good.
Well, yeah, and that's really what it is. That's really what we're doing within the community is there are pillars in this industry. It's really hard to visualize them when you're just starting out because they seem very expensive, and so they seem very hard to implement. And I understand it's hard to implement all this shit. It seems almost impossible when you're first starting out. And I don't think that's the expectation. I think that, you have to be mindful of things that you need to grow and develop. And then you also need to figure out what your lane of success is, what your lane of accuracy is, so that you can focus on delivering your superpower and then positioning the right people. That's why it's kind of funny when we talk about this Avengers of contractors. You have your subs and your suppliers on site, but then you have the business side, which is like 50% of the success of your business. If you have no sales process, if you have, shitty accounting, shitty construction management, shitty marketing, shitty content, like if all that stuff sucks, then all you're building is an organic machine that will die. Like at some point, the people you're working for won't need to use you as much as they are using you. Even if you're a subcontractor and you work with a lot of different builders and they feed you work, you're depending on those people that they're going to grow their businesses, which is crazy. So, I think like when you talk about these pillars of business, accounting is a huge pillar in that. And then you can go even further. You can go to a more specific accountant that specializes in this industry that can refer you to products like, Dex or JobTread and help you make sure that pillar is running at its optimal perfection. And that's really what ultimately helps a lot of contractors grow. And
What's up, guys? I hope you're enjoying this episode of the On-Site Podcast. So here's the deal. We want to grow this show and we need your help. It's simple. Pay the tax, share the show. That's it. Let's get back into it.
I know that you're working with a few guys in the community. Kevin is up in Hamilton, I believe. It's too many people right now, but
Ontario there,
yeah, it's like you're trying to remember your whole classroom, but you have 7 classrooms.
That's why you can normally have name tags. And I've actually found because we're cloud-based, I'm on Zoom all the time. I get kind of like, I don't know, I feel like my brain has atrophied a little bit in terms of how I can remember people's names because everyone's name is right on the bottom of the tile. I'm like, oh, hey, right? I don't have to, but then you go to like meet a bunch of people in person, you're like, oh man, what was that again?
Yeah. It's Kevin, he actually came to Calgary, went up for dinner, awesome. Had a good conversation. And, we've been working just over a year. And, I know he's working with you and he's continuing to grow his business, specializes in ADUs, and he's expanding into some multifamily stuff. And, we were talking and, I don't know when he signed up with you.
Beginning of the year.
Yeah. So businesses like that, I'll just give you a perspective of, the perfect customer for Josh. And there's other ones too, but this one, really, really stood out to me. So Kevin originally came to us. I think he was doing around $2 million in revenue. I don't really know exactly where he was at, but in around that. And since then, I don't really believe fully it's about the revenue. It's about the opportunities and the growth that exist. I know that his revenue is increasing month to month. I know that his opportunities are increasing month to month. And I know that his demand for people like Joshua and, these other pillars within his business are increasing month to month. But it's because he's made the right decisions along the way. And he early on adopted, Joshua's program and product into his business just to help him organize his life. He's got a young family. He's growing a fast growing business in a very busy market that's in high demand for the product that he's producing. And you don't want to fuck that shit up. Like along the way, you just do not want to, put your ego in front of the decision of hiring the right person to do the job. You would never, most contractors that are listening, if you're a general or, you sub things out, you would never hire the shittiest guy to come on your site.
Put your tile in.
To put your tile in, because it's going to be a callback for your client. Even though you're going to maybe make a little bit more money in that scenario for the short period of time, you bring this guy in and you've got more margin inside of that, you're going to end up with a callback. You're going to end up with a problem. And it's the same thing with your business. You can't shortchange your business. You got to bring in the right people. And, Kevin made that decision very early on. I don't know if he brought in, I did recommend that he talked to you about accounts receivables payable kind of strategy to help him organize some of that stuff. So I don't know if he adopted that yet, but there's just things are always growing. As you grow your business, there's hundreds of hats that you're wearing, right? And you have to offload them to the right person.
Yeah. I was just going to say Kevin's awesome to work with. Generally, just so you know, we have to be really hush about our clients, numbers and stuff. So I probably won't dive into those. But just from an operational perspective, though, awesome to work with. Our team loves working with Kevin. Very responsive, and I think that's key is being responsive to what's happening in your business, right? I think a lot of people, they don't maybe like dealing with the admin stuff or the numbers side, and so they just kind of leave it. I've actually seen, this is not a joke, there are people who, this is an old thing now because CRA is now sending mail via online, but people used to have this bit of a phobia or just aversion to the brown envelopes that used to come from the CRA, which is in Canada, for anyone in the US listening, is our tax authority here. It's like your IRS. And so people would just let those pile up, right? Because they just didn't want to have to deal with it. And so if you can find someone who can deal with the stuff that is not your area of expertise, so you can go focus on your business, that's pretty key. And kind of what you're saying too, if you get some horrible tile guy to lay your tile, right, it's going to be a callback. And so similarly, I've seen this in business, is not uncommon. So again, if this is you listening and you're like, ooh, that's me, you're not alone. Okay. I have seen people who just have really shoddy books, just not done well, okay, who are very behind on remittances with the CRA, spending tens of thousands of dollars in penalties and interest in a year. It's okay, if you just paid a little bit more for somebody to do a really good job at keeping everything nice and tight, you would save tens of thousands of dollars, right? That's just the compliance side. So then you think of the lost opportunity side, right? If you're hey, should we hire this PM? We really need another PM for this job, or a project coordinator, or maybe I need to get another estimator. You're okay, can we afford this? If you don't know your numbers and you don't know your cash projection to the next 3 to 6 months, even to a year, you don't know. It's kind of I hope so, right? You just don't know. So it's lost opportunity as well, which is I've seen, and it's really too bad. So yeah, you want to keep that really tight.
No, we all start somewhere in this industry, and so it's never too late to make a phone call, to have a conversation. Joshua, I know we've posted up in here. If anybody's watching the YouTube version of this, you'll see that we posted several of different links. But Joshua, if you're listening in, for people that want to find you, what is the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram, just josh.the.cpa, or BasePoint CPA is our company Instagram account. I've started doing videos. That's a bit of a new thing. You'll see a shift. This is very new. Instagram for me is a new thing. You've been talking about it a lot. I'm okay, fine. I'll do it. As a coaching program where they're you have to use Instagram. So starting to do more video. What I like about this actually is it gives a good opportunity to also provide ongoing education for clients and other people who are just following us, so that it doesn't have to be meetings to inform them about things. If they have a question, be oh, I just did a video on that a couple weeks ago, just check it out on Instagram, right? So it's a good way to sort of streamline our training and education.
What I want to point out about Instagram, and I'm glad you're doing that, and I'd love to chat more with you about this. Not that I'm an expert in it, but a lot of the people that we work with focus on utilizing Instagram in a specific way, and what I've learned consecutively over the years is that you have to put yourself in your customer's shoes. So most people that are using Instagram use it without an intentional direction, and they just post for the sake of posting. Well, as soon as you can reverse engineer again who you're trying to service with that content, then you can actually put the right content in front of them in the way that they want to digest it. And so like a drywaller that goes and follows a bunch of other drywall companies, that's not an effective use of that platform unless you're just trying to, build your ego and gas yourself up. Or an electrician following a bunch of electrical companies and liking and engaging with, cool, funny videos that like are relatable. It skews the algorithm and puts the wrong things in front of you. And so what we have to really do when we're using Instagram is we have to have a couple tools in place. And so one of them that I really like is called farming. And so we're giving out some free information, and you can take some of this too as well. But I do this thing called farming. And so I will go find my ideal avatar, and I will like and engage and support that person's content for a little bit. And in the event that they follow me back, then we'll have a conversation about, their business. And meanwhile, the content that I'm posting is solutions to problems that I've solved for similar people. So as they digest my content, they see, okay, those are problems that we get along the way. And they understand that, oh, okay, this is the type of problem that you might be experiencing. And so I can really relate with that. Thank you for the follow. And it converts that transaction. And so that's really what the content that we're posting should really be about. It's about showing our audience, the right audience, the solutions that we put for other people that are just like them. And so I love that you're leaning into that. Video is a great platform. BNI, this is what BNI I really believe is good for. BNI is great for getting your speech, your 30-second pitch put together very quickly, because you're forced to stand in front of, 20 or 30 different people every week and sell something. Right. And so that's what we're doing all the time. You and I are both selling a service and a product, and we're forced to really get comfortable. And so I love that you're challenging yourself to get out there and talk more, because what it will do is not just build an audience of people. Okay. It will also refine your sales process and how you deliver your message to your customer about the solutions that you really provide. I know that you do a lot of podcasts. I know that you do a lot of presentations. I love your presentations. You make accounting not boring.
I'm glad to hear that. Thanks, Brandon.
And I think that that's important. And so, I'm just glad to have you a part of our team. I think it's a critical element. I feel like I need to watch Avengers again, just so I can try to position like who's who, because we have so many different people in our community that are educators that are just so very specific, deliver so much value in a very specific element of business development. And, I would have to try to figure out exactly who you are in your Avengers title. And maybe that's something that we can
reshape. Fight over that, maybe.
Yeah, maybe it's a lottery on who gets to pick their name for their superhero. But no, I really think that you're a huge, important element to construction and to our community. I'm so thankful that we have had a chance to meet and chat. And so I would like to talk a little bit about your family. You've got 4 kids, you've got a wife. You're living in this it sounds like a little bit of paradise there. So tell us a little bit about your family. Who are you, and who are the people that you're doing all this hard work for?
Yeah. So my wife's name is Michelle. We grew up together. She was 1 year younger than me. So she was in my sister's class actually all through school. I worked with her brother when I was in high school, but we just never really crossed paths. And I used to DJ. This is years ago. One of the ways I paid for my university was I DJ'd. And so I was DJing a wedding, and she walked in, and I was like, whoa, who is that? And then we started chatting, and I was like, "Oh wow, you're Michelle." And so we ended up connecting, and then the rest is history. So we got married. Oh man, probably 2 years later. And it's funny, we bought a house that was a big fixer up. Here's a construction tie-in. I used to be a framer for probably about half a year. I just wanted to learn how to do a bit of stuff, and so we bought a house, and then it was a major fixer up. So we got it, renovated it. I was able to do most of the framing, drywall, and stuff, but I leave the other stuff to I get nervous when I touch plumbing and electrical. I'm like, nah, get the professional to do that. So then we started renovating this house, and then we had this plan of flipping the house, buying 2, living in 1, flipping houses for a while, and then starting a family. Started a family a little bit sooner than we were anticipating. So we ended up in that house for about 14 years.
There we
That was
go.
in Maple Ridge there. And it's so funny because we put in like really nice cherry hardwood floor, anticipating we're going to sell this. But after having 4 kids in a house with cherry hardwood floor, you can only imagine the dings that are in that floor by the time we were done. So yeah, so I've got 4 kids, Jake, Elijah, Levi, and Sarah. So 3 boys, 1 girl. Yeah, they're a blast. I love them. It is why I do what I do. And it's interesting. So I wasn't, I went back to school to be a CPA probably in 2013, I think, when our 3rd son was born. And we knew it would be a grind. It was like, hey, I'm going to be working full time and going to school. And I'm not one of those people who I can just learn and it'll just sink in and I've got it like that, right? I need to spend time in it and learn it. So, in the CPA program, they say it takes about 20 hours a week or whatever to do it. That was me. I was like 20, 25 hours a week. Plus, I was working like 50 hours a week at my job. So it was a grind. But we decided, we're like, you know what? The time's going to pass anyways. So let's just do it. And we'll do it while the kids are young. And very thankful that I did, because it's now created the opportunity to have the life that we want to have now, where there's a bit more freedom. We can go skiing for the day if we want. We homeschool our kids, which gives us ultimate freedom.
Cool.
Like, my
you.
company is cloud-based. We homeschool our kids so we can live anywhere. We can go anywhere. And the world is kind of the place where we can educate kids, right? So yeah, so that's a little bit about our family and what we do.
I love that. The homeschooling thing. I wish. Look at this. The Hulk. That's what you've been.
I was gonna ask, because I'm like, I've started now. I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but I've started working out more. I'm like, can I be the Hulk, Brandon? Like, I want to get there.
I don't know, man. I might get you there, but it's okay. There could be 2 Hulks. No, I really appreciate that. Our producer threw that up there, and
nice work.
It was a good chuckle. No, you know what? First off, I love that you homeschool your kids. I think that's. I mean, I wish I could, looking back, and if positions of life were different and I could really homeschool my kids, I definitely would. Some of the shit that they're learning in school is just unnecessary and pollution. Like, it's pollution.
Well, I don't think it's really equipping them to be adults, right? I heard someone say once, they're like, we're not raising kids, we're actually raising adults. That should be our goal, right? So that when they leave the home, they're not kids, they're actually equipped adults to function well in the world. And I know, like, I had some of my closest friends were homeschoolers growing up. I went to school, but we always kind of joked like, oh, yeah, like homeschoolers, right? Like, just kind of weird, not really socially integrated. But nowadays, I mean, we've got a massive group of other homeschooling families that they connect with, so super well socially integrated. And we get to tailor their education, right? So.
Well, I mean, like I find myself having to teach my kids after they go to school about things that are relevant, things that will shape them. As a good example, like AI is becoming relevant, and my son, I support AI 110%. You use it in the right way, you're trained to use it. It can be a monster. It can progress you exponentially faster. And so I've been working on trying to teach my kids. My daughter is like, nah, you don't use AI. I don't know where that direction's coming from, but I'm really trying to encourage her to no, you got to use it, but use it in the right way. It's not like we're using it as a cheat code. We're using it as an education searching tool. It replaces research. It speeds up research. You can learn actually faster with this tool. And so totally. I think, schools pollute them from using these tools. But like my son, he was in grade 11 last year, or maybe it was grade 10. I don't recall what year this was, but he got a 0 for using AI.
Oh,
and
interesting.
I was like, why? And they're like, well, he cheated. I used an AI, scanner, and it said that there was, 100% use of AI on this. And I said, you know what? That is fucking ridiculous at the end of the day, that we are like diminished. I was like, do you remember? I asked the teacher, I was like, do you remember when the calculator came out? Because you and I are both the same age. Do you remember how like the calculator was looked down upon? Like, you're using a calculator to figure out an equation. Now they're in every classroom. And it's this tool, it makes you more efficient, right? And so I was like, why don't you teach them how to use the tool? Because I'm doing it for you. And they're like, well, they're not really taught. They weren't equipped for it. I said, so you're going to penalize the people that are using it because you're not capable. I was like, that's ridiculous. And so, there's been a few different things that have come up along the way with school specifically that I wish, I could have homeschooled my kids. My son's in grade 12. My daughter's in grade 9. We're at the end of the journey almost. So I'll just make sure super fast, dude. It's super fast. I remember, playing mini sticks with my son in the driveway when he was just going to kindergarten, and here we are graduating, and we're buds now, and it's a cool feeling to have. And so you've got 4 of those, like I mentioned earlier, and so really appreciate you sharing this stuff about your family, and you've got they've got a great father as well to support them. And honestly, you're just getting started with what you're doing. As we grow this community, there are a lot of people specifically in the space that need your services. And so I think you'll see a significant influx of contractors over the next couple months. And hopefully you can keep up to the people that are going to be coming your way, because there are a lot of people that are going to need to make a decision with their business if they want to take control. And you mentioned it earlier, the people that take action are the ones that really differentiate themselves in this industry. And really that's what it comes down to, is not being indecisive and truly making a decision, recognizing that you have a problem and saying, okay, I need a CPA in my business. I need a website. I need marketing. I need whatever in my business, something. And you make a decision and you move forward. You don't sit there and look at it for 12 months, because the world is moving way too fast for you to be indecisive. So,
and I think, just if I can hop in there on it, Brennan, like I think what's hard, and I see this with a lot of business owners, is they built it. It's their baby, right? So it's hard to conceptualize the fact that something might be broken in the business. But as soon as people can recognize that any given moment, something is broken in your business, that's just the nature of business growing. You're going to grow out of current systems. You're going to grow out of current processes, right? What worked 5 years ago may not work today as you grow. And so just recognize, okay, it's something will break. It's my job as the owner of the business to be, that's the thing, be responsive, right? Like, don't just not take action. Don't sit back, but look at it, be responsive, and take the action that needs to happen to correct that, and then it'll launch you into that next phase, right? I don't know if you've ever read the book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There, but it's like that's for us personally, right? We have to kind of become who we need to be to get us to where we want to get to. But it's the same thing with our businesses, right? We have to transform our businesses into what they need to be in order to get them to where we want them to go. Now, if you want to be Chuck of the truck, we always call him Clipboard Joe. I have a friend named Joe who is a contractor, so no offense, but
I have 2 contractors in the community. Both of them are named Joe.
We always refer to it's so funny, because we would see it, just really quick. Like when I was running finance for a general contractor, Clipboard Joe was like not incorporated, had a Gmail account, didn't have a website. Everything was like photo texted over, right? It just didn't look like a presentable business, right? So it's one of those things. Sometimes you have to transform your business to get to where you want it to be. If you want it to grow to that, if you don't want it to go to that, that's your prerogative, right? But yeah.
Well, I think too. Yeah, I think leaning into the break it. Doesn't matter what industry you're in. Your business is designed to be broken. Growth is breaking it, and so you want to get to a position where let's say that you have a cup, like this Tim Hortons cup here. You fill it up with things that you're capable of managing, organizing, executing, and then you get some more work and it fills up a little bit more, and then get a couple more things and it fills up a little bit more, and then it gets to a point where it starts boiling over the edge. And all this shit, these things that are boiling over, are opportunities that are lost. And so that's the point, that the cup is, identifying that the business is broken, not in a bad way. It means you've grown it to fill the pot up, or the cup up, to a point where you need to offload some of those decisions to other people. And so, bringing on a CPA, bringing on a coach, bringing on a marketing team, bringing on an agency, those are things that you need to do in order to refine the process inside that cup. And, I try to build my business as quick as possible in the coaching space to break it. And literally I do that in a way because I know that when I've gotten to a spot where I've broken it, it means that we're on the next level and we're growing this business. And for some people, that's not what they want. I mean, I get it.
Totally.
Like people want to run a simple, efficient little business. Well, that means you get more defined, more refined with your process. You're still breaking it. It's still running inefficiently. I don't care who's out there, who's listening. If you don't have some of these people in your business, there's just no physical way that you are really capitalizing on all the true opportunities that exist, because they're blinders to you. And and so I know we're coming up at the end of this episode, and I really want to thank you, Joshua, for taking the time to speak with us today. But if anybody is looking for a contractor specific CPA, we didn't get into the CPA or CEPA side of this, so
that'll be another conversation, maybe.
That'll be another episode. But if anybody needs a CPA that is specialized in construction, I definitely recommend that you reach out to Joshua. If you're part of the community, if you want to join the community, you can also go to ebsworks.com and you'll see him right in there, or go to basepoint.ca to find him. There are a lot of other things that we can dive into, Joshua, but I think we're going to have to do another episode to talk about the new website that you're building, and to talk about the exit strategies that exist.
That sounds good.
Because I think that those are two pillars that would add a lot of value to everybody that's listening. I just want to say thank you, Joshua. Is there anything else you want to finish up with?
No, I think that's good. Yeah, you touched on the website. So constructionaccounting.ca is a website that we're building, which will be geared very specifically to contractors in Canada, with resources and tools and tips on there from a construction perspective. So yeah.
Awesome. Again, great conversation. Until next time, thank you so much.
Thank you, Brandon.
All right, that concludes this episode of the On-Site Podcast. Remember, if you enjoyed this episode, please pay the tax, share the show. Guys, if you want to be a part of the Elite Builder Society, all you got to do is pay $49 a month. That's it. $49 a month. You get 20 group coaching calls every month. Okay? Go to ebsworks.com and register today. If you enjoyed the show, please pay the tax and share the show.